Would you like to learn how to breed chickens successfully by greatly reducing the chances of bacteria? Let's go! Hey guys, Musa here from Quantum Home Improvements and Solutions. It's great to have you back on the channel. So today I'm going to talk to you about breeding chickens. And it was around 3 years ago we bought some leghorns, 1 rooster and 3 hens, and they've been great, lay big white eggs, and they roughly lay about 5 eggs each a week, roughly. But we need more eggs than that. And so we decided to breed chickens for more eggs, but also to become more self-sufficient in our meat. So we breed chickens probably 3 or 4 times a year, and when the conditions are right. So when we first started, we looked up information on how to do it, and there was a lot of misleading information on the net and on YouTube. We slowly learned the proper techniques, and you will find that on YouTube from the better YouTubers. And so one of the main things I found was a problem was bacteria. So I'm going to show you how we eliminate the bacteria and go through it step by step, and ultimately giving you a better yield of chicks. Now, we bought this incubator from eBay. It's not the best quality you can get, and so that's one of our problems. So just recently I bought a digital reader which is on top of the reader that comes with the incubator, so that way I can be more accurate on the temperature. This incubator has 48 eggs in it, and it's semi-automatic. So a hen would naturally do certain things when she's brooding, and this incubator will simulate some of that. Now, you won't be able to get dead perfect, but you've got to simulate it. So it's got to do with the humidity, the temperature, and also the rotating of the eggs. So every 2 hours the eggs will rotate, and for either 15 seconds, 30 seconds, depends on how you set it. I usually set it for a 30-second rotation. Okay, so the first thing you do is collect your eggs, and you can collect your eggs up to 10 days, but I find it's more successful up to 7 days. And so if the eggs are fertile, and one of the main questions people ask, do you need a rooster?
Yeah, you do.
And so long as the eggs are fertile, you can store them for up to 10 days, but we store to 7, but it has to be under 15 degrees because there is a chance of the embryo starting to form if the temperature is a bit too warm. And you need to collect the eggs, I would suggest 3 times a day to get them out of the heat. So if you've got a warm spring day or an autumn day or even summer, you need to grab those eggs pretty quickly and then put them in a room that's 15 degrees Celsius or less. But also when you collect your eggs, the hens and the roosters have to be healthy as well. So what I do there, I no longer give them water in a tray or in a drip tray. I now give them with a nipple, and I'm going to release a video on that in the near future. So what that is, the chicks will peck at the nipple and water will come down, and they'll just grab that water. And so there's no chance of the chickens actually pooing in that container, which will actually contaminate the water. So you've got to keep the water contaminant free. And you need, if you're not using one of these systems, you have to have clean water for them every probably 2 or 3 days. And so if the eggs are healthy from a healthy chicken, the bacteria can still come in from the outside, from the poo on the egg. So generally speaking, you don't collect eggs with a lot of poo on them. If it's a little bit, it's fine. You can wash them down. I'll show you the process that what I do. And I use a particular product called Hydrogen Peroxide, a 3% solution. So a lot of chicken hatcheries around the world use a similar product, and there's a lot of different products on the market, but it is quite successful to use Hydrogen Peroxide 3%. And the hydrogen peroxide will burn your fingers, by the way, so you need to put some gloves on. And so the gloves I use are latex-free gloves. If you're using latex gloves, the hydrogen peroxide will actually burn through them, or there's a chance. So I'll just put some of that in this tub here, so I don't contaminate the whole bottle. You don't need too much. I'll just use a rag and basically just wipe the egg down. So we have 4 types of chickens here now. My pride and joy are the leghorns, but also the Plymouth Rocks, my barred rocks. I love them. What a beautiful bird the barred rocks are. We also have crossbreeds. Now, because we produce our own meat here, we have crossed the Plymouth Rock with a leghorn, my two favourite chickens. And they make a beautiful bird. And they're really big, bigger than leghorns. And they lay better than Plymouth Rocks. Plymouth Rocks are not as good a layer as leghorns. It's hence why I've got the two types. Now, I've done a crossbreed purposely because they're the ones that we're going to consume. And they're big birds. Because if you're consuming chickens, leghorns usually only clean up to about 1 kilo, 1.5 kilo. Where Plymouth Rocks can be around about 2 to 3 kilo. We also have another breed, which is a crossbreed between Leghorn and New Hampshire. So this hydrogen peroxide also softens the shell, which is a good thing because the chicks find it easier to get out. So it does take roughly 21 days to hatch chicks from start to finish. And so the numbers will be displayed on the actual incubator. So they'll keep the number count for you. When you're putting the eggs into the incubator, it's very important that you place the eggs with a round section on top. The pointy goes downwards. Okay, so this incubator needs to be set at 37.5 degrees for the first 18 days. And so one thing you can't do with these incubators, once you've started, is to open and close them. It is really important. Our first lot of incubations, we were opening them every second day and candling the eggs to see if the embryo was growing. Big no-no, don't do that. Leave the eggs. So you will open the lid 3 times only. So the first time you'll open them is when they get to 6 days old. And so the reason you do that is to candle the eggs. And what candling means is basically putting a torch behind the egg when you turn the light off. And I'll show you that process, and you'll see the embryo inside and you'll see the vessels forming on the inner part of the egg. So you can only have the lid open for 15 minutes. Any more than that, you will risk the embryo from dying. And that's what happens in nature. The chick will go off her eggs roughly 15 minutes during the middle part of the day, most probably, when it's warmer. And she will have a quick feed a number of times and come back, warm them up, go again. And then she'll do that for 21 days until the chicks start hatching. The second time we're going to open it is when we candle it a second time, but then we take them off this tilt tray. So on the 18th day, we stop the rotation process. We put them basically flat on this tray. And so what they call that process is lockdown. Sounds strange, especially these days, but it's called lockdown. So you do a lockdown for 3 days. So that 3 days, you do not open that lid. You will actually reduce the humidity and you will lock the chick in the egg because the egg itself has 2 membranes. And if you take the humidity out of the eggs at that crucial stage of the 18th day, you dry the egg and there's no way they're going to be able to break free easily in that egg, because what happens inside the egg, the chick will continually rotate and keep pecking at the egg until the lid of the egg comes off. And I'll show you that process as well. And so if those 2 membranes dry out, it can't actually turn inside the egg, not freely. And so then you have to intervene. But there's a high failure rate. It's better just don't touch the eggs. So now I've got a new rag and the eggs are all dry. And so I'm going to give it another go. And so all these eggs are dated when I actually collected them. They're sort of all over the place in here, but that's fine. The reason I do that, because I know there's more success in the eggs I pick in the later days rather than the earlier days. So remembering that chickens naturally have their own bacteria, which is salmonella. Very dangerous actually. So whenever handling chickens, you should always wash your hands straight after it. That's why you don't eat chickens raw. It's really important. You should never eat a raw chicken. Okay, so we're done. Whole 48 eggs, washed twice. The next step now to prepare the incubator is that it needs water. Now inside this incubator, there is like a channel. And so that channel will fill up with water. So I'll just get my little container here. There's a little hole in the middle which allows me to drain the water down. Beautiful, that's really good. So I've basically put about 2 cups in there. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is place the lid on. This is the motor that tilts the trays, and so that needs to be connected to the power. Now this here is the sensor. So I'll put the secondary temperature reading in. I'll put that on the side. Okay, so all we're going to do here is just plug the power source in, switch the power on, and it'll gear up. But what I haven't done from the last incubation is reset and calibrate the information. So I'll just do that by pressing the negative and positive button. Just to hold that for at least 5 to 10 seconds and let it go. Now you can see it's all gone back to 8s, and now it's started all over again. So the count for the tray tilter is now at 1 hour and 59 minutes. Okay, the temperature currently is at 22.8 degree, 88% humidity. Now that's different to the reading I've got here. It shows 75. Now the reading will tell me how accurate it is, and going by history, I know that it's out by about 0.5 degree. So I'm actually just going to raise it just that little bit more. I'll let that incubator sit for a little, and then adjust the temperature as I need it. And for the next 6 days, I do not touch it. It's now the 6th day, and it's time to candle the eggs. So in a moment, I'll turn the light off, shine the torch behind the egg, and see if there's an embryo. Now, the reason we do it on the 6th day, because the 6th day shows the formation of the actual vessels around the egg and also the embryo pretty clearly. So if there's no vessels or any embryo whatsoever, and we're 100% sure there's nothing going to grow in that egg, we take it out. We don't leave any chance for the egg to explode, and they will if they've got bacteria. So if you leave it in the incubator for 21 days, and it does explode, which it has happened to me before, they'll infect all the other eggs. So going by the reading on the incubator, it's currently 38.2, but the digital reading shows 37.4, very different. When we first started incubating, the first couple of days, it was actually in the high 39s. It was really out by about 2.5 degree. Now 2.5 degree really will give you a bad yield of chicks because the temperature has to be pretty precise. The first 18 days, it needs to be at 37.5, and the last 3 days, we drop it down to 37. So I'll turn the light off now, and we'll open up the incubator. We can't open that incubator any more than 15 minutes. We don't want to leave chance for the embryos to die. So we've got to do this pretty quickly. There we go, first one, beautiful. Second. There we go. This one definitely doesn't have anything in it. So you can just see the darker section on the top and the yellower section down the bottom. It's going to be hard to see that in the light in the camera. Look at that one. That is incredible. Hopefully you'll see that on camera. Look at that. There's the embryo just right there. Beautiful. And that's a Plymouth Rock. Woohoo! Okay, so I'll just close the lid now and let that temperature build back up. So I'll just turn the light back on so we can see. I think that I do definitely have a rooster that is not fertilizing the eggs. Okay, so now I won't open this incubator again until the 18th day. All I've got to do now is just put some water in, fill it up, and I do that every single day. And I put roughly about 1 or 2 of these a day, depending on how the humidity is showing on my digital thermometer reading. It's the 18th day, and the incubator is about to clock over in a couple of hours. So now I have to do the last stage of the incubation, which is lockdown. So with the lockdown, what I'll do is remove the lid of the incubator, disconnect the power, because the eggs will no longer need to be rotated. They'll just sit straight on the grill. But while I'm taking the eggs out, I will also candle the eggs to see if the embryos have formed into a good sized chick yet. If not, I will remove them at this stage. And also, I need to put more water inside the chambers, not just the cross sections, but in the outer parts. Reason being, I need to get the humidity up to 80%. At the moment, the incubator is showing 60, but the digital thermometer is showing 64. So during this whole process, the last 18 days, not only did I find out that the temperature reading is incorrect, it fluctuates between the nighttime and daytime. So every night I have to drop it or increase it, and same in the morning, which is a bit of a shame, because now I realized how inaccurate this gauge is. All right, so I've put the lid back on. I'll let the temperature build back up. Also, I've taken the tilt tray out. So now all the eggs are sitting on the gauze, on the plastic gauze, and now we do not open this incubator until the chicks hatch. So even when we're taking the chicks out, we will not take the chicks out until we know most of them have hatched, because once we open it, it becomes a problem for all the other eggs that have not hatched. So it's the 20th day. These chicks are starting to hatch. So right there, you can see a chick breaking through the egg, and it's turning around in the shell. So first it poked up the top, and now it's spinning around in the egg, and it's slowly cracking. This chick is hatching. It's just pushing its head through, and it's about to push the top end of the egg off. It's not far off now. And so you got the one behind as well. So right now we've got about 6 of them pushing through. So while the chicks are hatching, it's going to take a couple of days. Now I'll just quickly get the brooder ready. I've already washed it and sanitized it and put it out in the sun to dry. I actually washed everything, all the feeders and all the other bits and pieces, and so it's clean now. So now the loosened chuff, and also fill up the feeders to save me time later, and I'll also set up the lights. So first I'll just throw in a heap of the chuff. Now the reason we put this in, it's just to absorb the chicken's waste, and they do actually peck at this, and they do tend to eat a little bit of this. I prefer to use the loosened chuff rather than sawdust. I think it's more healthier for them. So I usually put in roughly about 25 mil thick of the loosened chuff, and then after the first week that they're in the brooder, I'll then put some more in there just to keep it clean. So I'll just spread that around. So now I'll just fill up these feeders, and I use Vella's chick starters. It's small enough grain for them to eat, and it's got all the protein that they need, and that's all they'll eat literally for the first 5 weeks. Then after that, I'll start venturing out and giving them other foods. I'll also place some bars across here, and this will carry the feeders later. Okay, so this is the light I'm going to use. It is a red light. Now the reason I use a red light, you can use just a normal halogen globe around about 75 to 100 watts. And so this globe is red because chicks will actually peck at each other when they're born if they've got any blood on them. So what this does is just make everything look red, so they can't tell the difference between their skin color or the blood. So all I do is just clip this on like that. I'll just move that back because it's in the way. All right, so all I do on the day when their chicks are hatched is just turn the light on. So the last thing to go in now is the water feeder, and this is what comes with the incubator. But I have a larger water feeder, which is this. It's probably 3 times its capacity to carry water, but I hang this up, and I'll hang that on this timber rod just here when the chicks get a little bit older. So I will start with this feeder, and then I'll move to the bigger feeder. So now it's clocked over the 22nd day. I can't leave the chicks in there any longer. Some of them started hatching 2 days ago. So the longest time you leave them in an incubator is about 2 days. they have enough food till then. Now there is a couple in here that have just hatched and they're still trying to find their feet. They look a little bit weak. I need to put them in the brooder and then get them to start eating and drinking and get them to walk around, and it's a bit squashy in there. All right, so what I'll do is feed them first, just so they can taste water, and then put them under the light. They haven't drank anything or eaten anything for 2 days, so they're going to be a little bit thirsty and a little bit hungry. So they'll get curious in a minute and they'll walk around. They'll start eating some of the lucerne, and they'll also start looking for food. And once one discovers the food, they'll all discover it, and also the water. Okay, so they're all in the brooder. There's 12 here, 2 in the incubator. Now some of these look a little bit tired. So what I do sometimes is just feed them a little bit. Just give them a little bit of a grain, just so they can taste food. There we go. Out of the 48 eggs put into the incubator 22 days ago, 30 were fertilized. And that confirms that one of my roosters was not fertilizing the eggs. But I do have a better rooster to replace him. So out of the 30 eggs, I would expect at least 50% hatch rate with this particular incubator that's fairly cheap. And I got close and we got 14, and I'm fairly happy with that. But that confirms that the hydrogen peroxide 3% does work to eliminate bacteria. But also it confirms that the incubator itself is not of good quality, and the temperature was fluctuating between 0.5 and 2.5 degree, and that's not a good thing. You need 37.5 degree for the first 18 days, and then 37 degree for the last 3 days, and you would get a better hatch rate if you had a consistent temperature. So I'm seriously considering to purchase a better quality incubator in the future. So anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you actually consider to raise chickens for yourself. It's great to have fresh eggs every day, and it's a lot of joy. It brings me a lot of joy. So anyway, I'd ask if you'd please consider to subscribe and hit the like button, and there's a lot more videos coming. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Please consider to subscribe. Let's go.